Have you ever wondered why you were never like the rest? Why your silence speaks louder than their shouting? Why your presence makes people shift in their seats, even when you haven't said a word? Chosen one, that's not a personality trait. That's not attitude. That's not aloofness. That's light. Unseen by most, but felt by all. You carry something in your spirit that disrupts rooms, a frequency that doesn't blend. It confronts. It convicts. Not because you're trying to, but because your very existence awakens what others have spent their lives suppressing. You were born with a light they don't know how to interpret, so they label it too intense, too quiet, too much. But you were never too much. They were just too little for the size of your calling. You are the storm they never saw coming. But it's not a storm of destruction. It's a storm of revelation, of divine intelligence, of unshakable discernment. And that light inside of you, it wasn't learned, it was placed. It didn't come from books or lectures or applause. It came from broken nights, lonely roads, spiritual warfare fought in silence while others slept in comfort. It came from God's hand resting on your life long before you ever knew what calling meant. People often ask you, why do you always feel things before they happen? Why do you sense something is off, even when everything looks fine? Why are you so intense all the time? Let me tell you something. Your intensity is insight. Your discernment is a defense. Your isolation is intentional. Because when God chooses you, He doesn't send you into battle without spiritual armor. He gives you perception, the kind that goes beyond body language and into soul language. You feel what's not being said. You hear what's not audible. You see what's not visible. And that's not anxiety. That's awareness, heavenly awareness. The reason they misunderstand you is because they were trained by the surface, but you were forged by the unseen. They look with eyes. You look with spirit. They hear tone. You hear intention. They see the moment. You sense the timeline. This is the gift of the chosen. But it doesn't feel like a gift when it isolates you, does it? When you walk into a room and feel tension that nobody's speaking about. When you meet someone and instantly know they're hiding something, but you can't prove it. When you try to warn others and they mock you, only to find out later you were right all along. Chosen one, that's not paranoia. That's prophetic protection. You are not crazy. You are coded differently. You were not built for this world system. You were built to decode it. That light in you is not for decoration. It's a divine weapon. And it doesn't always make you popular, but it will always make you prepared. This is why your journey has been harder. This is why you've never fit into their circles. This is why relationships failed. Jobs turned toxic. Doors shut without explanation. Because God was shielding your light from rooms that would try to snuff it out before you even realized what you carried. You were not rejected. You were redirected. You were not overlooked. You were hidden. You were not too broken. You were being rebuilt for glory. And now, you're beginning to see it, aren't you? All those nights you cried, all those friendships that ended, all those moments you felt like a stranger in your own skin. It was part of the molding. God wasn't punishing you. He was protecting the assignment inside of you. Because you're not here to blend in. You're here to stand out. There is a fire in your soul that no storm can extinguish. No slander can dilute. No betrayal can break. Because what's inside of you didn't come from man. It came from God. And that means no man can take it away. So let them misunderstand you. Let them distance themselves. Let them roll their eyes when you speak. Let them say, she thinks she knows everything. He acts like he's better than us. Because you do know things. Because you are different. And it's not pride, it's prophetic awareness. You've been assigned to walk where others fear to go. to carry light into places that have never seen it, to awaken hearts that are still asleep in darkness. This is your call, and it won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. So don't let the shadows intimidate you. They only rise when they sense light approaching. And you, chosen one, are a light that doesn't dim for anyone. In this series, we are going to dive deeper into that calling, that gift, that shield of protection, that divine intelligence that the world cannot understand but desperately needs. Because your time of hiding is ending. Your time of revealing is here. And if you've made it this far, if your spirit is burning as these words speak to you, then you already know what I'm about to say. You were born with fire they cannot understand. Because you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to lead. There are battles that no one sees, struggles fought behind closed doors, wars that rage, not in the streets, but in your mind, in your soul, in the spirit realm that few even acknowledge. You, chosen one, you've walked through these battles with your head held high, even when your knees were trembling. You smiled in front of others while your spirit screamed in the secret place. This is the hidden life of the chosen, a life of quiet warfare, of invisible enemies, of spiritual attacks that don't leave bruises, but drain your energy, distort your thoughts, and try to convince you that you're crazy. But you're not crazy. You're in combat. No one saw the late-night cries. No one felt the wave of anxiety that came from nowhere. No one noticed how heavy your chest got every time you entered a room full of smiling faces. But something inside of you whispered, "This place is not safe." They thought you were moody. They called you antisocial. Some even said you were dramatic. But if only they knew. You weren't reacting to what they could see. You were responding to what they could feel but ignore. That's what spiritual warfare looks like when you're anointed. The battlefield for the chosen is not always visible. It doesn't announce itself with sirens. It whispers. It lurks in energy. It disguises itself in fake smiles, false compliments, and silent sabotage. You walk into a space and the atmosphere shifts. You feel tension, though no one says a word. You sense jealousy, though no one dares admit it. You notice manipulation, though it's masked as kindness. Why? Because your spirit is trained in things that human language cannot articulate. You fight wars with your discernment. You win battles by holding your peace. You disarm devils not with volume, but with spiritual vision. And when they tried to pull you down, when people around you started acting strange for no reason, when opportunities slipped through your hands, right when breakthrough seemed near, you didn't always understand it at first. You asked God, "Why does this keep happening to me? Why do I feel so tired for no reason? Why does the room change when I walk in?" But now you're starting to see it. You weren't just under attack. You were being tested and trained. Every loss taught you strategy. Every betrayal taught you boundaries. Every rejection taught you discernment. And every storm sharpened your inner radar. You see, spiritual intelligence is not just about seeing angels. It's about sensing agendas. It's about hearing what the spirit behind the voice is saying. It's about knowing when someone smiles but means harm. It's about picking up on that one off word, that strange dream, that sudden shift in energy, and realizing this is not just life, this is warfare. But God did not leave you unarmed. He clothed you in a type of armor the world cannot recognize. Peace that makes no sense, discernment that sees through people like glass, and a resilience that refuses to quit, even when everything around you screams, "Give up." And yes, sometimes you got tired. Sometimes you almost gave in. You almost believed the lies, that you were cursed, that you were unloved, that you were just too sensitive. But that wasn't the truth. You weren't cursed. You were called. You weren't unloved. You were set apart. You weren't too sensitive. You were spiritually awake. It's a strange thing, isn't it? To fight battles that no one else can validate. To pray prayers you can't explain. To sense things you wish you didn't feel. To love people who secretly envy you. To survive atmospheres that were designed to break you. But here you are, still standing, still praising, still discerning, still fighting, not with fists, but with faith, not with bitterness, but with boundaries, not with panic, but with prayer. And now, there's a shift happening in you. You've learned how to navigate the storm. You no longer panic when the sky gets dark, because you remember who commands the wind. You're no longer shaken by silence, because you've learned to hear the whisper of God louder than the noise of man. You're no longer afraid of being misunderstood, because you've accepted that your light was never meant to be explained. It was meant to be seen. Chosen one, there's something powerful in the fact that you've survived attacks that were never spoken, weapons that were never physical, storms that didn't even have names. This is the proof of your calling. You're not here by accident. You've been preserved by grace, and your spiritual intelligence is no accident. It's your inheritance. The next time the battle rises silently around you, you won't ask, "Why me?" You'll whisper, "I've been here before. I know what this is, and I know who I am." You are not just a survivor. You are a warrior with wisdom, a protector of light, a sentinel of the sacred. And your enemies? They still don't understand how you keep rising, how you keep discerning, how you keep walking in peace, even in the middle of war. But you understand now, because you've been fighting a war that no one saw, but heaven kept score, and you won. Chosen one. Let's talk about what they could never quite explain. That thing inside you that always knew, always sensed, always picked up on what others missed. You've been walking with something rare, a gift that wasn't taught, but transferred, not from a teacher, but from the Spirit. It's called spiritual intelligence, and it's not just awareness. It's a divine blueprint encoded into your perception. The way you read a room, the way you feel someone's intentions before they speak, the way you dream, not like others dream, but with meaning, with warning, with revelation. This isn't coincidence, this is capacity, and it was placed in you for such a time as this. Spiritual intelligence is not loud. It doesn't wave flags or seek attention. It sits quietly, watching. It speaks when no one else hears. It prepares you while others are distracted. It whispers while the world shouts. And that's why they don't get you. Because what guides you can't be Googled. It can't be taught in classrooms. It's deeper than logic. It's higher than knowledge. It's divinely downloaded into the soul of the chosen. From the outside, you seem calm, but inside, you're discerning, you're tracking, you're decoding, you're listening to the unspoken and preparing for what's next while others are stuck in now. You're the one who says, something's off, and a week later, it's confirmed. You're the one who dreams of warnings and wakes up in prayer. You're the one who avoids the wrong people. Not because you're judgmental, but because your spirit won't let you stay. This isn't arrogance. It's assignment. You weren't built to follow noise. You were built to follow truth. And here's what they'll never understand. This gift cost you something. You didn't wake up with discernment. It was carved into you through heartbreak. It was formed through betrayal. It was refined through silence. When you had no one but God, no answers but instinct, no map but the Holy Spirit. Each time you were lied to, your radar sharpened. Each time you were overlooked, your sight grew clearer. Each time you walked away from what glittered but wasn't gold, you proved that your wisdom came from above, not from what's seen, but from what's sensed. Spiritual intelligence is not just sensing evil, it's identifying destiny, it's recognizing alignment, it's knowing when God is in the room and when he's been removed. It's knowing when to stay, when to speak, when to move in silence. And chosen one, you've become a master at all three. That's why they can't play you. That's why manipulation doesn't work on you. That's why charm doesn't fool you, because your eyes are spiritual and your ears are tuned to heaven. You see patterns, you feel vibrations, you track atmospheres. You don't just hear what's said, you discern what's being withheld. You're not just smart, you're anointed. You're not just observant, you're equipped. And what they call weird is actually wisdom. This is why you feel different in crowds, why your body reacts when something is spiritually off, why you get tired around people who drain you, why you're energized by truth but exhausted by lies. Your system isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. God wired you that way so you'd know when to move before destruction hit, so you'd know who to trust without needing 100 confirmations, so you'd know when the atmosphere shifted even if no one else could feel it. This is the unseen technology of heaven operating inside your soul. But here's the thing. You must learn how to steward this gift, because spiritual intelligence, if left undisciplined, can turn into spiritual exhaustion. You can start carrying weights that aren't yours. You can start reading signs that weren't meant for you. You can start feeling everything and forgetting to filter it through prayer. That's why God is calling you deeper, not just to discern, but to divide rightly, not just to feel, but to walk in clarity. He's teaching you the difference between distraction and direction, burden and assignment, curiosity and conviction. Because chosen one, not everything you sense is yours to solve. Not every atmosphere is yours to fix. Not every emotion is yours to carry. So what do? You anchor this gift in the Word. You protect your space with prayer. You ask the Holy Spirit, is this for me to act on or to pray over? Is this meant to lead me or test me? And you listen, because you weren't given this intelligence to show off. You were given it to lead. Your discernment is not an accident. It's a map, a weapon, a compass, a covenant. It's proof that heaven trusts you with sensitive things. It's proof that God walks closely with you. It's proof that even when the world lies, you'll never be lost, because your eyes have been trained, your ears have been tuned, and your soul has been marked by divine strategy. You don't just walk into rooms, you read them. You don't just hear voices, you test them. You don't just sense vibes, you interpret intentions. You don't just survive attacks, you outmaneuver them. So walk boldly, chosen one. You carry more than intuition. You carry insight. You hold a gift that nations need. You protect a light that darkness fears. You embody a wisdom that only those chosen for spiritual warfare can fully understand. This is your portion. This is your inheritance. This is your edge. And it's time you stop hiding it and start honoring it. Because you weren't just born with a mind. You were born with a weapon, and heaven forged it. For such a time as this, there is something protecting you, even when you don't feel it, even when no one else sees it, even when everything around you seems like it's falling apart, and you're wondering how you're still standing. Chosen one, you've been walking with a shield that can't be touched, but it can never be penetrated. You don't wear it on your chest, you wear it in your spirit. It's the kind of protection that confuses people, because you don't retaliate, you don't shout, you don't fight dirty. And yet nothing formed against you ever prospers. That's not coincidence. That's covenant. This invisible shield isn't made of metal. It's made of mercy. It's forged in grace. It's sealed by the blood of Jesus. It's the reason you walk away from wrecks, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, without a scratch they can explain. You've been targeted, but you've never been taken out. You've been slandered, but your truth still stands. You've been betrayed, but your heart stayed soft. That's not because you're lucky. It's because you're guarded. Guarded by something holy. Guarded by something greater. Guarded by something they cannot override. Let's be honest. You should have lost your mind by now. The betrayal should have broken you. The depression should have drowned you. The disappointment should have destroyed you. But it didn't. Why? Because of the shield, the invisible one. The one that covers you in your sleep, that speaks when your voice is gone, that defends you in rooms you've never entered, that fights wars you'll never even know you were in. God's protection isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the job that didn't call you back. Sometimes it's in the relationship that never happened. Sometimes it's in the delayed answer, the closed door, the uncomfortable no. Sometimes his protection looks like rejection, but it's actually redirection. Sometimes it feels like loneliness, but it's actually preservation. And sometimes it feels like punishment, when it's really positioning. Chosen one, you were never being denied. You were being shielded. There are people who tried to curse you, but couldn't reach you. Enemies who tried to trap you, but got tangled in their own web. Plots that were whispered about you, but somehow they unraveled before they touched you, and you didn't even know. Why? Because your name is written on God's hands. Your path is guarded by angels. Your calling is surrounded by fire. The enemy couldn't stop what he couldn't see, because your protection isn't of this world. Let this be your peace in the storm. You don't have to see the shield to know it's there. You don't have to prove your defense to know you're defended. You've seen the evidence. You've seen the fall that didn't finish you. You've felt the pain that didn't poison you. You've walked through the fire, and not even your clothes smell like smoke, because heaven stepped in. You are covered, you are kept, you are sealed, you are guarded, and not by accident, but by assignment. There is a reason your spirit feels calm, even in the middle of chaos. There's a reason you feel protected, even when the world is spinning. There's a reason you feel held, even when you don't understand what's happening. That's the invisible shield. That's God's hand. That's the spiritual fortress built around the ones he has chosen. But hear this, the shield also comes with a responsibility. You have to honor it. You can't expose your energy to everything and expect to stay strong. You can't let everyone close to your spirit and expect your light to remain undisturbed. God's protection is real, but so is wisdom. The shield works best when you walk in alignment, when you choose to keep your hands clean, when you choose to stay in obedience, when you choose to guard what's guarding you. Don't go where your peace doesn't follow. Don't force what your spirit resists. Don't entertain what your discernment already exposed. Your protection is activated by obedience. Your shield stays strong when you stay under God's voice. Remember, even Jesus didn't walk into every town. Even the apostles dusted their feet and moved on. And you carry something too precious to waste it in the wrong place. Chosen one, you are not fragile. You are fortified. Not because you've never been attacked, but because you've learned how to survive without bitterness. You've learned how to fight without falling, to walk through fire without being consumed. This is the legacy of the protected. This is the mark of the chosen, not untouchable, but unbreakable, not invisible, but undefeated, Because the invisible shield is not just a covering, it's a calling. And now you're being called to walk like someone who knows they're guarded, to move like someone who's protected, to speak like someone whose words carry weight, to walk through storms not in fear, but in fire. The kind that says, I may bend, but I will not break. I may be hit, but I will not fall. I am protected by something you cannot see, and because of that, I will not lose. There's a loneliness that doesn't come from being physically alone. It comes from being spiritually different. Chosen one, you've walked into rooms and felt like a stranger, even among people who know your name. You've stood in circles and still felt like the only one who could feel the room shifting. Not because you're broken, not because you're unlovable, but because your light doesn't blend. It confronts, it convicts, it pierces. You weren't created to blend in. You were designed to stand out. But standing out comes with a cost. And that cost is often isolation. They say you're too deep. They say you take things too seriously. They say, why can't you just chill? But your spirit doesn't chill because your soul is on assignment. While others are playing, you're discerning. While others are comfortable, you're wrestling with unseen weight. You try to explain it, but they don't get it. You try to make connections, but conversations stay surface level. And your spirit is starving for something real. You feel like your presence makes people uncomfortable, like your energy is too much, like your insight is too sharp. But let me tell you a holy truth. It's not that you're too much, it's that your light reveals too much, and not everyone is ready for that. Your light exposes what others have spent years hiding. It touches nerves they hoped no one would notice. It calls out silence that was once safe. It disrupts atmospheres that were used to compromise. You were never created to be agreeable. You were created to be authentic. And authenticity in a world of performance feels like rebellion. But hear me, your isolation is not punishment. It's preparation. Moses had to leave Egypt before he could lead Israel. David had to sit in the fields alone before he ever stepped into the palace. Jesus had to go into the wilderness before stepping into his ministry. You too have walked through seasons where you felt forgotten, but you were really being forged. They didn't understand your absence. They misread your distance. They thought you were withdrawing, but you were being set apart. Chosen one, you were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be aligned with the right ones. You weren't created for crowds. You were called to remnants, to those who have eyes to see, to those who recognize light when they see it, to those who've walked through their own wilderness and finally see someone who gets it. Your tribe isn't loud, but they're real, they're coming, and you'll know them not by words, but by recognition. But until then, you walk alone, not because no one wants you, but because heaven has shielded you. God hid you to protect you from premature connection, from fake friendships, from soul ties that would have drained your destiny. You've been lonely. Yes, but you've also been guarded, and sometimes the most loving thing God can do is keep you to himself. So if you're in that season right now, where you're misunderstood, where you feel like no one gets you, where conversations bore you and silence feels safer, take heart. You are not lost. You are becoming. You are not rejected. You are refined. You are not abandoned. You are anointed. And it's in this loneliness that you learn to hear God most clearly. Because when no one else is talking to you, he is. When no one else is affirming you, he is. When no one else is celebrating you, he is. This is where he teaches you the sound of his voice, the rhythm of your own heartbeat, the beauty of solitude and the strength of silence. This is the loneliness that bursts leadership. Let them say you're too intense. Let them say you're too quiet. Let them say you're too spiritual. You are not too anything. You are exactly who God made you to be. You are not a mistake. You are not dramatic. You are not emotionally unstable. You are light, and light has always made darkness nervous. Don't apologize for being different. Don't shrink to make others feel comfortable. Don't silence your truth to fit their shallow. If they leave, let them. If they mock, bless them. If they distance themselves, release them. You were not made for comfort. You were made for calling. And calling always starts in the wilderness, in the silence, in the loneliness. But soon chosen one, soon that light they rejected will be the very thing they run to when their world goes dark. So endure the season. Let it sharpen you. Let it clarify your vision. Let it teach you how to carry light in a world that worships shadows. You are not lonely because you are broken. You are lonely because you are becoming. And what you're becoming will shake nations. You didn't ask for this. You didn't raise your hand and say, make me different. Make me the one who carries the weight. You didn't volunteer to be the one who sees through everything, the one who feels too much, walks alone too often, and speaks truths that make people uncomfortable. And yet, here you are, called, set apart, marked by something that the world can't explain, but can't ignore. You didn't ask for it, but heaven assigned it. Because chosen one, you were never meant to just exist. You were meant to lead. Leadership, true spiritual leadership, isn't about position. It's not about titles or platforms. It's about influence born in isolation, about credibility forged in crushing, about authority that comes from survival. You're the leader others look to when things fall apart, because you've been through the fire and you didn't lose your light. You're the one they call when the mask falls off, when they're tired of pretending, when they need someone who knows what warfare feels like. You didn't ask to be the leader, but your scars gave you a voice. Your discernment gave you vision. Your resilience gave you the right to speak. You don't need to announce yourself. Your spirit speaks louder than your mouth. People feel something when you walk into a room, not because you're loud, but because you carry weight. The weight of survival, the weight of spiritual wisdom, the weight of presence. Some people mistake it for pride, others call it too intense. But those with spiritual eyes, they know. They feel the mantle on your life, even if they can't name it. You've been leading longer than you realized. You led when you stood up for what was right, even when it cost you relationships. You led when you refused to compromise, even when everyone else gave in. You led when you chose healing over revenge, peace over performance, prayer over popularity. You've been leading by example, by integrity, by obedience, by walking in a way that says, even if I'm the only one, I won't bow. And now, heaven is calling you higher, not because you're better, but because you're ready. You've been faithful with little. Now it's time to steward more. More wisdom, more influence, more souls who are looking for a light in the dark. Chosen one, your leadership isn't just for you. It's for the remnant that's rising behind you. The ones watching you, even when you don't know it. The ones taking courage from your quiet obedience. The ones who say, if they can stand, so can I. You don't have to lead like the world leads. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need a stage. Your leadership is spiritual. It's sacred. It's subtle. But it shifts everything. When you walk in love, the room softens. When you speak truth, the fog lifts. When you simply stand your ground, warfare breaks in the unseen realm. That's leadership. That's authority. That's what you were born to carry. And yes, leadership is lonely. It often means going first. It means being misunderstood. It means being the one who repents first, who prays first, who forgives first, who walks away when others stay in dysfunction. But you're not leading for applause. You're leading because heaven trusted you with the mantle. You carry something heavy because your shoulders were built to hold it. And if the weight feels like it's crushing you, that's only because it's activating the strength you didn't know you had. God didn't call you to be safe. He called you to be set apart, to walk ahead, to speak when no one else will, to see what others avoid, to love with a heart that's been crushed and still stayed soft. That's leadership, and it's all over you. This isn't the time to shrink back. This isn't the time to play small. This isn't the time to pretend you don't see what you see or feel what you feel. Own it. You were made for this, built for this, anointed for this. You don't need their approval when you have God's assignment. So rise, leader. Take your place. Lead with love. Lead with wisdom. Lead with silence when necessary and boldness when required. You weren't called to be liked. You were called to be light. And the world is darker than ever, which means your time is now. There is a weight that comes not from what you do, but from what you reflect. Chosen one, you don't just walk into a room. You reveal it, not because you expose people with your words, but because your very presence pulls back the curtains they've spent years hiding behind. You are a mirror. And that mirror reflects more than just your light. It reflects their shadows. You've seen it happen. You speak with love, and they take offense. You remain silent, and they call it judgment. You show up fully yourself, and suddenly, they feel inadequate. But hear this. That's not about you. That's about what they see in you. Because when someone hasn't dealt with their pain, their insecurity, their ego, your peace feels like a threat. Your clarity feels like confrontation. Your wholeness becomes a reminder of their fragmentation. It's hard carrying that kind of reflection. People project onto you. They misunderstand you. They avoid you, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you reveal what they're not ready to face. That's the burden of being light. You illuminate everything, even the things they've buried. You didn't ask to be the mirror, but the mirror doesn't choose its reflection. It simply stands. And in standing, it reflects truth. Some will love you for it. Some will resent you for it. Some will silently admire you while publicly avoiding you. But none of that should shake you, because your reflection is not accusation. It is invitation. Invitation to grow, to heal, to rise, to become. But not everyone is ready to see themselves. Not everyone is ready to confront their wounds. Not everyone is ready to take responsibility for the mask they wear. And so, they attack the mirror. But don't shrink. Don't distort your reflection to make others feel comfortable. Don't dim your light to protect their insecurity. Don't dull your discernment to preserve their image. You weren't created to appease illusions. You were born to break them, not with violence, but with clarity, not with condemnation, but with conviction. The ones who are ready, they will find you. They will recognize you, not by your face, but by your frequency. They'll say you're different, but deep down they'll know you're not just different, you're authentic. And authenticity is rare. It's uncomfortable. It's raw. It's real. But it's also what sets the captives free. Chosen one, there will be people who walk away from you because your presence forces them to see what they've been hiding. There will be people who blame you for the emotions they haven't yet processed. There will be people who call your boldness arrogance, your discernment paranoia, your confidence intimidation. But that's not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for how others interpret your light. You are only responsible for shining. You've been called to stand in truth, in love, in holiness. in bold transparency. And when others look at you, let them see something real. Let them see peace that can't be shaken. Let them see healing that was earned through fire. Let them see grace wrapped in strength. Let them see God, not because you're perfect, but because you are available, available to be used, available to reflect, available to carry the weight of being misunderstood. If it means heaven is glorified, so yes, it's heavy. Yes, you'll be misread. Yes, you'll lose some people, but you'll also attract the ones who are tired of fake, who are hungry for depth, who are ready to face themselves. And when they see their reflection in your light, they'll begin to see their worth, their calling, their identity. You are not just a mirror. You are a message. So don't break under the weight. Don't shatter when the blame comes. Don't hide when the pressure rises. Stand. Stand like a mirror in a storm. Still, clear, unmoving. Because someone, somewhere, is about to see who they truly are. For the first time. And it will be because you refuse to turn away. There's a power the world underestimates, a weapon that doesn't shout, a force that doesn't need a stage. And yet, it shakes kingdoms. It's called silence. Chosen one, you've learned, sometimes painfully, that not everything needs to be spoken, that not every battle is fought with words, that some of the greatest victories are won in stillness. You used to think you had to explain yourself, to defend your motives, to clear your name. But now, you've seen the wisdom of simply saying nothing. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. It says, I don't need to fight this battle because I know who fights for me. It says, I'm not going to waste energy proving myself when my fruit will speak in due time. It says, God sees everything, and that is enough. You've been misunderstood, lied about, mocked, provoked, pushed to the edge where your old self almost resurfaced, and yet you held your peace, and in that quiet moment, heaven moved. Because silence, when it is spirit-led, is not passive, it is prophetic. In a world obsessed with noise, your silence is countercultural. It interrupts chaos with calm. It diffuses arguments with restraint. It unsettles darkness. Because the enemy doesn't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, or what God is whispering to your spirit behind closed lips. There is a shield in silence, a covering, a sacred secrecy. You don't owe access to everyone. You don't owe explanation to confusion. You don't owe your voice to every demand. Some people are not asking to understand. They are asking to control. They want your details so they can discredit them. They want your vulnerability so they can weaponize it. They want your dreams so they can discourage them. That's why God has been teaching you. Silence is security. Your quiet seasons were not empty. They were equipping. Your silence has been your strategy. While they were talking, you were building. While they were doubting, you were discerning. While they were laughing, you were listening. And what did you hear? You heard heaven, not in the noise, but in the stillness, in the whisper, in the secret place where God downloads strategy, reveals motives, and heals what words could never reach. You don't need to post it to prove it. You don't need to announce it to activate it. You don't need to defend it to protect it. Your silence is sacred, and heaven honors those who protect what is holy. Think of Jesus, accused, beaten, interrogated, and still, he said nothing. Because truth doesn't need to argue. It only needs to stand. Chosen one, there are dreams you must carry in silence. There are ideas that must remain hidden. There are seasons that require secrecy. Why? Because not everyone who asks deserves an answer. Not everyone who listens, listens with love. Not everyone who's near is for you. Some are watching to steal. Some are watching to sabotage. Some are watching to mock. So guard your oil. Guard your vision. Guard your intimacy with God. Let your silence be your fortress. Let it be your filter. Let it be the space where you choose wisely. When to speak, what to speak, and to whom you speak. Because silence without wisdom is passivity, but silence with discernment is strategy. And strategy is what separates the reactive from the anointed. You don't need to match their noise. You don't need to meet them in the pit. You don't need to clap back when heaven is backing you already. What they say is temporary. What God is doing in you is eternal. And in due time, the same mouths that mocked will marvel. Because your results will speak louder than your defense. Your peace will speak louder than their noise. Your favor will speak louder than their doubt. So rest in the silence. Rest in the stillness. Rest in the quiet confidence that says, I'm not hidden. I'm protected. I'm not weak. I'm wise. I'm not behind. I'm being built in secret. And when God is finished, they'll know. Without a word from your mouth, there are scars you carry, not on your skin, but in your spirit. Wounds no one sees, but God counts everyone. Chosen one, you've survived things that would have crushed someone else. But you didn't just survive, you learned. You took the pain and turned it into perception. You took the heartbreak and turned it into humility. You took the trauma and turned it into strategy. Your scars are not shame, they're strategy. They are your curriculum. They are your credentials. They are the proof that you've been through the fire. And you didn't lose your light. You've been lied to, and now you can spot deception. You've been manipulated, and now you see through charm. You've been broken, and now you know how to discern what's real. This wisdom didn't come from books, it came from battlefields. People see the calm in you now and think you've always been this peaceful. They don't know that your peace was purchased through sleepless nights, tear-soaked pillows, and conversations with God where you begged Him for clarity, for healing, for strength to not go numb. They see your discernment, but don't know the trauma that built it. They hear your wisdom, but don't know the wilderness you walked through to carry it. Your past was not a mistake, it was a molding. Every rejection was divine redirection. Every heartbreak, a rerouting. Every betrayal, a boundary lesson. The things that were meant to destroy you actually equipped you. You don't see the world like everyone else because your eyes have been opened by pain. And now what once made you cry now makes you careful. What once made you question now makes you qualified. You no longer enter relationships blindly. You no longer ignore red flags. You no longer apologize for protecting your peace because now you understand. Your healing was never just about relief. It was about readiness. God was not just trying to soothe your soul. He was trying to shape your strategy. He allowed the pressure, the pain, the pruning, so that when the moment came, you would know how to walk into rooms without being manipulated, how to love people deeply without losing yourself, how to serve others without being enslaved to their approval. And yes, healing was hard because you had to revisit what hurt. You had to forgive without apologies. You had to move forward without closure. You had to surrender control in exchange for peace. But look at you now, soft but not weak, discerning but not bitter, guarded but still full of grace. You carry the scars, but they no longer bleed. You walk with history, but it doesn't haunt you. You remember the fire, but now you command it. Chosen one, you've become a strategist in the spirit, not because someone taught you in theory, but because life carved it into your bones. You've been trained in the language of pain, the silence of healing, the solitude of obedience. Now your life is a blueprint for others who are still bleeding. You are proof that wounds can transform, that trauma can birth wisdom, that scars can become strategy. The enemy tried to take you out before you realized your voice had power, before you discovered your purpose, before you could see what was really on your life. But what he meant for evil, God used to train your hands for warfare. Now your prayers are sharper, your intuition is faster, your atmosphere changes when you walk in, not because of what you say, but because of what you've overcome. So no, don't hide your scars. Don't shrink your story. Don't minimize what you've walked through, because someone out there needs to see what healed looks like. Someone out there needs to know that pain has a purpose. Someone out there needs the truth, that their breaking point can become their birthing point. You didn't just come through the storm, you learned how to navigate it. You didn't just get up after the fall, you built wisdom from the ground where you landed. You didn't just heal, you became holy armor. And now, you don't just protect yourself, you teach others how to rise. You show them how to forgive, how to discern, how to move in silence, how to lead with clarity. Because the world doesn't need more perfection. It needs realness. It needs survivors. It needs people who have turned scars into sermons. People who walk in wholeness and wisdom, not from theory, but from testimony. And that's who you are now. A living testimony, a vessel of healing, a mirror of strategy, a leader in the unseen realm. And every scar you carry is now a weapon against the darkness you once had to crawl through. So hold your head high, because your scars are not your shame. They are your strategy, and God is about to use them to set someone else free. You've made it through the fire. You've walked through silence, storms, rejection, and refinement. And now, chosen one, it's time. The world may think your rise is sudden, but heaven knows it's been a long time coming. You've been growing in the shadows, healing in secret, becoming the version of yourself that can carry the weight of what's coming next. Your rise isn't loud, it's divine. It doesn't beg for attention, it commands respect. Because you didn't climb your way here, you were called. This is the rise of those who have endured in silence, of those who didn't quit in the crushing, of those who were buried, but discovered that seeds only grow in dark places. This is the moment when everything that tried to break you bows to the anointing that built you. The doubt, the fear, the voices, the rejection, they don't define you anymore. You've come too far, fought too hard, seen too much, to turn back now. This rise isn't about ego. It's about assignment. You're not rising for applause, you're rising for impact. Because your life isn't just about success, it's about significance. God didn't preserve you through that storm so you could hide your light. He didn't heal you so you could keep quiet. He didn't anoint you so you could wait for permission. You have permission, you have authority, you have the mantle. Now it's time to move. Move like someone who knows they were called. Speak like someone whose voice has been tested in fire. Stand like someone who's carried crosses before ever wearing a crown. You are not a beginner. You are not fragile. You are not late. You are ready. And the world is about to see what heaven already knows. That your rise is not rebellion. It's prophetic. For too long, you played it small. You made yourself digestible. You waited for invitations that would never come from people who were never called to walk with you. But now, no more shrinking, no more second guessing, no more waiting for their approval. Your assignment is not up for vote. Your calling is not on hold. Your rise has been released, and what's coming will be bigger than what you lost, deeper than what you prayed for, stronger than what broke you, wiser than what wounded you. You're stepping into rooms you once thought were beyond you, but now you know they're not too big, because the one who called you built you in the dark for this very stage. Doors are opening that eyes haven't seen. Hearts are awakening that you were born to lead. Battles are being won just by your presence in the room, Because your rise isn't just about your elevation, it's about activation. Your light gives others permission to shine. Your healing gives others courage to believe again. Your discernment shakes the enemy's kingdom. Your silence speaks volumes in a world of noise. You're not just rising, you're reigning, not with control, but with clarity, not with manipulation, but with mantled wisdom, not with pride, but with power anchored in humility. This is what chosen ones do. They rise without striving. They lead without titles. They speak without needing a mic. They shift atmospheres just by being present. And that's exactly what you're about to do. So take this moment in. Let the oil of every trial wash over you. Let the anointing of your scars become the fuel. Let the whisper of God echo louder than any voice around you. And rise, not because they told you to, not because the world asked for it, but because heaven already declared it. Because you were never meant to stay hidden. You were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to fit in. You were born for such a time as this. And now, chosen one, if your spirit has burned with every word, if this message has confirmed what you've quietly carried, then don't keep this to yourself. Leave a comment and declare it. I'm rising. I'm chosen. I'm ready. Join the community. Subscribe. Share this word. Let others hear the call. Because the time for silence is over. The time for hiding is done. And the rise of the chosen has begun.